So as you are tracing over your drawing in Micron, remember that we did a project where we were shading using our Micron, and we're to shade and show value, you are layering lines. You can do it by hatching, cross hatching. You could stipple are the small dots. So depending on what it is that you're doing, I'm going to be using hatching and cross hatching to show value on my object. So my rounded objects will look round, my plastic objects will look like dented and like they're not just flat, but they're also kind of old and dirty. So I'm wanting to show that they have some age to them and that they are dimensional, that they're not just flat. So my objects, here that are rounded are going to be getting more value on the bottom of them. Here, where they're further from potentially a light source, but they're also, I'm going rounded when I'm shading them, and I already drew them to look three-dimensional using my sources. My drawing sources. So here I'm coming in and I'm starting to add value to the surfaces. And again, this is certainly much easier if the sources that you chose have value already on them. So if you chose drawings of objects that are three-dimensional, like you would choose, shaded pen or just three-dimensional objects, like whatever it is, whatever your object is, or if you're doing like an animal or something. So down here, I haven't really started them yet, but I'm going to do this part first, and I'm going to shade and show dense and wear, because mine is a bunch of trash at the bottom of the, well, actually floating in the ocean. Okay, so as I'm doing this, I'm looking at my source images. Sometimes I'm using photographic images, sometimes I'm using images that are not, these are kind of flat, so I'm looking for things that have more values. And then I'm going to be coming into here and I'm going to be using something like this to then show the detail. So when I'm drawing an image down here at the bottom, I'm going to draw this one. I'm doing the detail here. So I did draw most of this in, but I want to actually really use my pen to show all of this fine detail, especially on the turtles that are sitting right here. So I'm going to be, going through one by one and putting in the smaller values and smaller details that I see. Okay, now let's talk about this one more time. So value is making these objects look round so they are not flat. Okay, and then once we've done some values, now there's two ways to do that. If you're using color, which you are, you can, and you have a variety of colors, or you're going to do watercolor where you would be able to mix your colors, then this is easy, right? Because you can mix values like we did in our watercolor pans when we went into the tops and we were making other values across there. But before I do that, so now I've traced in Micron, that's the first step. Then I'm going to erase away any pencil because I don't want the gray of the pencil, and I'm just going to do the top part of this right now for demonstration purposes. This is where my trash is and my oil spill right up here. So I'm erasing the pencil off of there, and then I can actually see if I missed anything, right? And I don't see that I have missed anything up there. I'm going to start then coming in and putting value into some of my objects that are here. And a lot of my objects are grays and browns because they are, you know, rusty old barrels. So I'm going to come through here and I'm going to start putting in, you know, some base values. And I'm not like coloring everything to a solid, you know, mono value like a cartoon. I'm going to come in areas that I want to be darker. I'm going to do heavier with my color pencil. If I have multiple colors, say I have multiple browns, or I'm going to be mixing like brown and black in here. So I'm going to do some areas light, some areas on the edges darker to give more value. And then I'm also going to be using like colors mixed together. So I'm going to use some light values of black. I have a darker value of brown. That's not it. Somewhere I have a darker value of brown over here. And I'm going to be, you know, using those to show value. So I'm not coloring this solid like a cartoon. I am shading it with my actual colors, okay? So I'm going to come through here. This bag is like white and black, so this would be like, you know, like a shopping bag or a grocery bag. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, which sounds weird, but it's going, when I put white and black together, it's going to create sort of like this dirty gray. I don't have a gray color pencil, so I'm going to make like this dirty gray color here by mixing the black and the white together. And I'm going to be doing that probably for my water bottles as well, some. And what that also does is, because I want to do a little bit of watercolor on top, I'm going to do some just in this corner so you can see where this is going. The wax of the watercolor, or of the colored pencils, creates a little bit of a resist. So when I wash some color, so now, and you can do this all in watercolor. I'm choosing to use both. Okay, so I'm just going to do this one section. You'll be doing the whole thing in either color pencil or color pencil with some watercolor wash on top. So what I'm going to mix here, so now I've got my water, and I know I want to use blue, okay, but I don't want like a brilliant blue. Let me pan out a little bit. I want it to be like sort of a dirty blue, so I'm going to use my blue and mix over here till I get something that is more like a dirty blue. And I'm not going to use tons, like I'm not sopping this wet with color, but I'm going to start like letting this stuff wash on top of my trash. And I'm going to be adding just a little bit of more water just to make it sort of a little more transparent. Like I'm not going to lose my colors that are under there, but I do want it to give a little bit of value. So I'm going to come across. I don't want to affect anything below my data line, because what's below my data line is going to communicate something a little bit differently, and I want it to look very different because it's communicating the idea about the turtles and their, as they are diminishing in number. So there's my dirty water. I'm going to add, because this is an oil slick up top, I'm going to be adding a little bit of like really dark blackish color, and I'm going to allow it to like in areas fade down onto things. It's going to coat my objects that are sitting, you know, floating up above. So I'm going to be adding some more value to these to get like sort of that oil slick look. Okay, and that is it. So when the entire thing will get first colored pencil, and if you're choosing to do watercolor on top, you'll be using those to create different values, so we're not seeing something that looks, you know, completely cartoon-like, unless there's a purpose for that. Otherwise, these are, drawings that hopefully reflect our age and ability, and as well that we did our homework and our research and finding our sources, and we weren't drawing from our brain. Okay, so we're drawing from looking at a source. And when you're done with micron, erasing pencil, and adding color, submit your work.